She clipped my wings there, didn't she?
She did.
Did you hear that? Feathers all the way up here. Anyway, I don't know about how many of you have never been baptized in water, but if you haven't, I really encourage you to do so. And you know, when Jesus got baptized in water, and it was a remarkable thing, because John the Baptist said, "No, you need to be baptizing me." He says, "No, let's do this right." And when Jesus was baptized in water, he came up out of the water, and the Holy Spirit, the heavens were opened, it says. And the Holy Spirit came down on Jesus like a dove and rested on him. And John the Baptist saw this. And then they heard a voice, "You are my son in whom I'm well pleased." And after that, then Jesus was filled with the Holy Spirit and went out into the wilderness and went through some testing. And interestingly, because he experienced his identity and his sense of purpose in the wilderness then. But I remember when I got baptized in water, I didn't know anything about water baptism. And but when I came up out of the water, I was different. Something had changed in me. And I mean, it was a radical difference. And of course, it had to do with the Holy Spirit and the Father speaking to me and saying, "You're my son. And if you're a woman, you're his daughter." He'll say that to you. He wants to identify that in us. But I just wanted to read real quickly. I'm going to be teaching on water baptism here a little bit. But I wanted to share from Matthew 28 and also from the book of Mark, a couple of different passages. But real quickly, let me get my glasses on so I can. There's some things that happen to us when we're baptized in water in obedience to what God has said in his word. Number one, it was a very common thing in the New Testament for water baptism. I mean, that was protocol. That was part of you being born again, because Jesus said, "Go and preach the gospel to all the nations, and those who believe and are baptized will be saved." He said that in the book of Mark. The other place he talks about it is in the book of Matthew. "All authority," he said in verse 18 of chapter 20, "all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go therefore," now he's telling with that authority, he says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations." That's what our primary calling is, to make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. I remember reading about water baptism in Bible college back in the early 70s. And that really dates me now. But I was about 24, 25 years old when I was, asking about water baptism. And I remember talking to this Greek professor at the Bible college, Dr. Walkham. And I said, "Dr. Walkham, what does," and he was a really older guy by now. I said, what's this term baptism? Why did baptism? And I said, when I was baptized in water years before, I told my parents, I said, "Well, I got baptized." They said, "You were baptized when you were a baby." And I said, "I don't remember that." And they said, "Yeah, you were baptized when you were a baby. What do you need to get baptized again?" And I remember Dr. Walkham says, "No, that's a decision to obey Christ and to follow his footsteps." And I said, "Well, where do you get this word baptism? What is it?" Because my parents said I got sprinkled. I was baptized when I was a baby. And he says, "Oh, no." He said the word baptism comes from a Greek word, baptizo. I said, "That's interesting." He said, "Yes, it's about when people wanted to dye a piece of material to make a cloth, a shirt or a gown or robe or something. When they baptizoed that piece of cloth in a dye, it would come out and it was different.
Man.
And it was baptizoed."
Man, that's amazing.
If I can kind of put an ED on the end of a Greek word, baptized, it got changed, it got transformed. And baptism is something similar to that, It transforms you. When you get baptized in water, something happens to you. You're being transformed. You're being dyed a different color, so to speak, but much greater than that. You're being transformed from what a caterpillar would be like compared to a butterfly. Your transformation is that different. Number one, God opens up the heavens to you to see what He's done and put on you, but also to hear His voice. And I believe all of this comes from water baptism. It comes out of being baptized in water and obedience to what Jesus commanded us. We're to make disciples of nations, baptizing them. What good baptism is going to transform nations. And that's what the gospel does.
Yes.
He said you're going to preach the gospel and they're going to change. And so I just encourage you, if you've not been baptized in water, I encourage you, get baptized and come to the classes. What we're going to be I want to teach a lot more on this because there's some really beautiful things about water baptism. And I don't think we hear about it much in a Pentecostal environment like this. We don't hear much about water baptism, but it's good for you.
It's good,
if
Jensen.
anything, it'll wash you with water. That's number one. You'll come out and you're washed, and it symbolizes the cleansing that God gives to us when we're born again. And so there's some other symbolisms too. I just want to share a lot of that with you.
Very good.
Thank you, Dennison. That was
Yeah,
great.
that's the best promo. That's the best promo I can give you, except stand up here and say, "Come to the waters of baptism."
Rap dancing, there you go.